can't deny it. I'm a fucking rider.
Come here, boy, 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 boy.
Y'all can't deny it. Y'all can't deny it.
Come here, boy, 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 boy.
Y'all can't deny it. I'm a fucking rider.
Come here, boy, 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 boy.
You don't wanna fuck with me.
Yeah. Come on.
Guess who's back?
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Not the Experts. My name is Sam Bieneman. Follow me on Twitter at SHBieneman. Actually, I don't think I have a Twitter account, but if I do, that's probably what the handle is. With me, as always, we have the affluent, the wonderful Mr. Man, Connor Peterson. Connor, how we doing today?
Hey, we're doing well. Follow me also on Twitter. It's at UWISYE. I manage that Twitter handle, so follow me there.
Email me at work at... I'm not giving out my work email. Hit me up on GChat.
Send me an Outlook invite.
Schedule a meeting. We could have a
All
lunch and
right,
learn.
so... Don't do any of that.
No.
Don't find me at work. All right, so let's dive into this week. Let's recap what happened last week, I guess, in Daily Fantasy. So it was pretty close again. I won by 10 points.
Yeah, see,
Not a big
Yeah,
margin.
what happened was I had Packers defense and James White. So going into the night game, I'm thinking, okay, you only had one running back. I couldn't remember who you had. Or I'm sure it probably changed 3 times between when we talked and kickoffs. I'm thinking, well, okay, he's got a running back. I got James White. I feel pretty good about that. I'm only down by like 15. Plus I got Packers defense, a couple points. I don't know. Playing San Francisco. And then the game started and I realized, we both had James White. Shit. So it really didn't that didn't really matter, and then it ended up being a shootout on Monday, so no dice for me.
Womp womp. Still got 7 points though.
I don't understand. Well, actually I know how, because 3 turnovers.
Right. Yeah, so that's pretty much how that shook out. Like Sam said, and like I said in the last episode, I actually kept my lineup up until the last minute. And then Sunday morning rolled around, and I got a bunch of Roto Grinders updates. And it was like, the ticker going across my phone, saying that Dalvin Cook was out, and that Ryan Tannehill wasn't playing, and Brock Osweiler was starting. So, given that information, I originally had Dalvin Cook in my lineup, so I had to change my lineup one way or another. So I took that opportunity to change my lineup 3 or 4 times over the course of that morning. So what I ended up with was Jameis Winston, James White, Chris Carson, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Tyler Lockett, David Njoku, Latavius Murray, and Bears defense. Out of those people, Latavius Murray balled out. I was happy about that. I was really unsure if he would be able to take advantage of the opportunity. But it was against Arizona's defense, and their run defense is bottom of the barrel. So I played him anyway because he was a huge value. He managed to rack up 25.8 points. So I was pretty happy with that. David Njoku was also a nice surprise. He netted 18.5 points against the Chargers. I think this was kind of his breakout game of the season also. He's been slightly trending upward in targets and attention in the games, and I think this game he took advantage of the opportunity given to him by the injuries that were in Cleveland. I think Higgins was out, and I think Jarvis Landry has been dealing with a case of the drops. So I was happy about that. Julio Jones had 27.3 points, 143 yards, 10 receptions, no touchdowns still.
I thought he did score.
No.
Yeah, I guess I was paying attention. I know he had a big number listed for fantasy points. I assumed he had a touchdown. I guess I didn't look that close.
Nope. He just ran train on Tampa Bay.
Possession
but
receiver.
Red zone targets. Yep. It's unreal. So besides that, I picked up Mike Evans because they were playing Atlanta. I was wholeheartedly disappointed with the 9.8 points that he got. And that was all entirely at the end of the game. Like, he was getting nothing done. Chris Carson, 5.9 points. Should have had a touchdown, but it was negated by a false start on behalf of Brandon Marshall. So great. So that was and Jameis Winston balled out. He had 35.9 points. So he was a huge value pick as well. So that's pretty much the rundown of what happened on my end. Oh no, I got to talk about Bears defense because this bullshit. Like I said, I was an eager beaver and decided I'm playing Bears defense. I have them in regular fantasy too, so it was like I was sort of playing them already in that league. But I saw that they were starting against Brock Osweiler, so naturally I slotted them in my DFS lineup because it seemed like the easiest decision I've ever made. Bears defense, they've been double-digit numbers the entire season against much more difficult opponents. Brock Osweiler, I don't know. Like their offensive line isn't very good. Brock Osweiler's throwing the ball. I don't know if I'd said that already. And so it made all the sense in the world to play them, and they just to say they were a disappointment would be an understatement because they were just awful. Like watching Albert Wilson just catch that dump off pass and run like 71 yards up the field, the 3 missed tackles or whatever it was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, that whole game was a lot of fun to watch. If you had fantasy players other than either of the defenses, which
right.
So I had a bunch of between regular fantasy and daily fantasy. Daily fantasy, I had Trey Burton and Al Robinson from the Bears, and regular fantasy, I had Tariq Cohen and Mitch Trubisky and Kenyon Drake. So I mean, I want to say that might be the most fantasy players I've played in across multiple platforms in one single game.
How did Kenyon Drake do?
Kenyon Drake did fine. He did score a touchdown, and I know everybody's going to remember that fumble on the goal line in overtime. But I mean, other than that, he did have. He had a couple receptions too, which kind of padded his point total. I don't remember off the top of my head. I can let you know.
Okay.
Let's see. Week 6. Kenyon Drake ended up with only 10 points. Maybe he didn't score a touchdown. I don't think he did score a touchdown now that I'm looking at this.
I saw that Frank Gore sort of had a big
Yeah,
game.
he was running. There were some big holes that he was gashing the Bears defense for. So
that'll do. The ageless wonder. So anyway, yep, that'll pretty much recap what happened for me. Won all my cash games.
Hey. Yeah, my lineup was. This is an interesting week because, I'm looking at yours right now. Jameis Winston who went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had a couple. You didn't have a terrible lineup. I had some real stinkers. Like, I had Phillip Rivers who had 15 points against the Browns. That was, I don't know, about what I expected. Not great, but not awful. Kind of a dud. Isaiah Crowell. I know that this is probably a reactionary move on my part to play him after the Jets ran. Am I remembering this right? The Jets ran for like 200 some odd yards the week before against somebody, right?
Against the
Colts.
He set the single game record, I think, for the Jets.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm obviously a week behind. He only had 7 points this week against. Oh, they did play the Colts this week. Whoever they played the week before, I don't remember. But
they played the Colts
this week.
They played the Colts.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
No, they played the Colts this
Yeah,
past week.
who they played 2 weeks ago when they set the record.
Oh, I don't remember.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I misheard you.
Oh, well, don't play that defense, whoever it was. Then we had James White. Yeah, we talked about. It, didn't really matter. And then also, yeah, fuck. I don't know why I doubled down on the Jets. I had Robbie Anderson.
So who scored points on the Jets, man?
Well, I don't know. They have
Jermaine
They have
Kearse.
40. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's who it was actually. Well, not Robbie Anderson, not Isaiah Correll, because I got a combined.
42 points, and both of those guys didn't.
Yeah,
do anything.
yeah. I did have a good.
Amazing.
Your guy. I'm giving you this is your guy, Tyler Boyd. Again, a guy I never heard of before a couple weeks ago. But he had a good day. He had two touchdowns. Really helped me out there. 7 receptions, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns, 25 DFS points. Allen Robinson. Yeah, we were already talking about the Bears Dolphins a little bit. A very workmanlike, a medium productive day. 5 receptions, 64 yards, and 1 touchdown. Trey Burton, not as effective at 4 catches, 23 yards. Oh, I guess he did have a touchdown too. So, yeah, getting touchdowns out of both those guys definitely was good, but not quite enough in the long run. Then my big play, not really a huge surprise, but Melvin Gordon went for 38. He might be the
3 touchdowns.
Man, I think he is the most consistent fantasy play.
He's
going
really
back to
good, man.
this year and
He's
last year, for
definitely
sure.
top 3.
Yeah.
It's Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, and Saquon Barkley have all had just monster games every single game.
Yeah. So
great play, I guess.
pat myself on the back. That was worth the whatever. I don't know what the value was for him last week, but whatever that was, it was definitely worth it.
He was 82.
Yeah, definitely worth it. Definitely paid off. And then Packers defense, which they had 2 sacks a pick and 2 defensive fumble recoveries, which gave me 7 points. Not a whole lot for giving up 30. So, yeah, I only lost by 10, so it wasn't terrible, but yeah, I missed with those Jets picks. If I would have got a little more, if I would have gotten double digits out of them, I would have been in much better shape. So, that was the week that was.
Yep, so that was week 6, everybody. So now we're doing something a little bit differently this week because with how we've been doing it so far, we sort of give our potential lineups. Sam's lineup has been pretty consistent through the week, but mine, on the other hand, has been the furthest thing from consistent. So pretty much we're just going to outline people that we're interested in week 7 here. And also people that were murdering in week 7. So
your words, not mine.
You want to start off with people? Yep, my words. You want to start out with people that we're not a big fan of?
Sure.
This week?
Well, we'll just start with quarterbacks. We'll start there. For me, I have 3 listed here for quarterbacks I do not like. Andrew Luck, $6,200. That is more a product of I don't like that Indianapolis offense. I'm not sold that Andrew Luck is, pre-injury Andrew Luck and is productive. I think they're getting T.Y. Hilton back this week, which should help. But the one thing, and they're playing Buffalo. But the one thing Buffalo is good at, they think they have a decent defense. They did a pretty good job limiting Deshaun Watson last week. They did a pretty good job against the Packers, whatever you want to make it that, a couple weeks back. They're in a real low-scoring game against the Titans. So, I don't think they're playing the best offenses in either of those games, but they've been consistently holding their opponents to relatively low-scoring games. And I wouldn't expect that to be any different against a very much below average Indianapolis offense. So then also Eli Manning. I don't know if you watched any of that game last Thursday, but man, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters who the Giants are playing. That Eli Manning is just going to get beat up because his offensive line is garbage. They're playing Atlanta.
Yeah, man, I'm super disappointed because his O-line is garbage, but he's also fell off a little bit of a cliff in performance here, and I agree that I'm not liking the play, even though he's against Atlanta here, then they've been noted for their porous secondary.
Right. I just, no matter how beat up that Atlanta defense is, I don't trust that Giants offensive line. I don't know. Yeah, he's only $5,200, so it's not like you're spending a ton of money on him. And then last, bottom, kind of a bottom. If you're going for a value pick, I would go with somebody other than C.J. Beathard. I don't think you're going to do much better. I don't think C.J. is going to do a whole lot better than he did against Green Bay. And they're playing a much better defense I guess they're playing the Rams. Let's say that, which is a fact.
Yeah, I agree that he's sort of been trending upward because he hasn't been quite as awful as I think people thought he was expected to be.
I think people forget that he actually started most of the year, like half the year last year. So it's not like he hasn't played.
Right. He's definitely has some solid experience, but yeah, I agree. I think that it's sort of a trap for people that are looking for value picks here at quarterback. I think there's definitely other value picks that you can have, and we're sort of going to get to those. I think Sam Darnold at 4,900 is a much better pick against Minnesota. Just by virtue of how this game script, I think, is sort of going to be dictated. I think the LA Rams are going to put up points quickly, as they have been doing this entire season. And it's not to say that Minnesota won't, but I think that the Jets have a little bit more of a complete defense than the Niners do. And I think that Sam Darnold is a little bit more, I don't want to say refined, that's the wrong word, but I think he has some more options in both scheme and with the players around him that I think you could easily pivot to him at 4,900 if you're really looking to save some money.
Who else do you like this week at quarterback?
I guess we'll just go sort of down the list.
Yeah, you found a lot more guys you like at different tiers than I found guys that I didn't like.
Yeah, so I pretty much sorted these into top of the line people, middle of the road guys, and then bottom value picks out of guys that I like here. So at the top here, I have Pat Mahomes at 7,100 against Cincinnati. He's the most expensive quarterback option. So I guess if you're looking to pay up there and you can save money elsewhere, great. I'm not usually a big proponent of it to do, but Cincinnati's secondary has been pretty not great this entire season. They've given up a ton of yards. And Tyreek Hill is bound to burn some people. But I think something else to consider, I think Travis Kelce is due for a big old game, and Sammy Watkins has also been lurking in the shadows here for a little bit. He's had some downers here the last couple weeks, so I think that one of those two is due for a big game here against Cincinnati. Next, I have Jared Goff at 6,600 against San Francisco. I sort of talked about it in the game script, but I think they're going to get off to a hot start here against San Francisco, sort of like how San Francisco did against Green Bay this past weekend. I just think that LA has too many weapons for San Francisco to contain. Richard Sherman's been doing an incredible job with San Francisco, but the Rams just have too many weapons at receiver, even if Cooper Kupp isn't playing. I expect Richard Sherman to shadow Brandon Cooks, and that leaves Robert Woods wild and free. And Todd Gurley also, I think that he's going to tear up that San Francisco defense. So anyway, I think he's a pretty solid play against San Francisco. They're also, I think they're home also.
Yeah, it's in LA.
Yeah, so that doesn't help. Or it does help Jared Goff, doesn't help San Francisco. And then last of the top tier sort of people, and these are totally arbitrary just based on monetary value. I have Andy Dalton at 6,400 against Kansas City. So the other side of the coin in that Kansas City-Cincinnati game, Kansas City's secondary is probably even worse than Cincinnati's. So I'm banking on, what's his name, Tyler Boyd to have a solid game again. AJ Green has also been a little bit of a sleeper agent here, so I'm expecting big things out of him as well. I think that more so than either of those two, though, I think Joe Mixon is going to have a pretty stellar game against Kansas City. They haven't been able to stop running backs very well, and he's been solid as a receiver as well out of the backfield and, lining up sort of in the slot for Cincinnati. So I think that he's going to have a huge game week 7 here. So middle of the road, I've got Baker Mayfield here at $5,800 against Tampa Bay. I don't think I need to really spell this out for anybody, but Tampa Bay's secondary is bad. I don't know if they're the worst secondary between them and Kansas City, but they're pretty bad. So I think Baker Mayfield's a great pick at $5,800, especially considering the people that he has to toss to: Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Antonio Callaway, plenty of people with a lot of talent that I think are just going to burn that Tampa Bay secondary. Next, I've got Mitchell Trubisky at $5,600 against New England. So this is a little bit more of a riskier pick here, but I like him against the New England secondary. I think that people have been able to put up a lot of yards on their secondary. They've shown that they haven't necessarily improved a whole lot from last year when they were not great. I think Stephon Gilmore is still a pretty solid corner, but beyond that, I think that they still have a lot of weaknesses in that secondary, and I think that Mitchell Trubisky, sort of similar to Baker Mayfield, has a lot of weapons around him to use against New England. I think Allen Robinson, Taylor Gabriel, Trey Burton. There's a ton of guys there to throw the ball to, and I think that one of them is bound to find some holes in that secondary. And to round out the middle tier guys, I have Joe Flacco at $5,400 against New Orleans. Not big on Joe Flacco, but I think for $5,400, the sort of end of this middle tier group of quarterbacks, I think that he's bound to have a pretty solid outing against New Orleans. I think they play at Baltimore, and New Orleans secondary, this has sort of been the name of the game here, is target the defenses with bad secondaries. They also have these guys that have sort of been up and coming on that Baltimore offense. They started a little slow this season, but people like John Brown, Michael Crabtree just had his first big game last week. Willie Snead has been he's I think receiving the same amount of targets as John Brown is, and this week he's playing against P.J. Williams, who's the guy that's been giving up all the yards to slot receivers in that New Orleans defense. So I'm expecting John Brown. I don't know about Michael Crabtree because I expect him to be covered by Marshawn Lattimore. But between John Brown and Willie Snead, I think somebody out of those two is going to have a pretty big game against New Orleans there. And then bottom of the barrel guys. I actually had Eli Manning on here. I'm going to go ahead and take that right back because I agree that I wrote him in this list, but I think I just wrote go along the theme of bad secondaries play against him,
Atlanta secondary make you look good. But I don't think.
I don't know. I probably wouldn't do it. So I guess just to round out this list, I'm going to elaborate a little bit on the Sam Darnold thing that I was talking about before. Minnesota's pass defense is bottom 10 in the league. And I thought that I was reading that, and I mean they haven't been doing well, but I wasn't really paying attention to them, I guess, this season, and I didn't realize how poorly they were playing this year. So I like Sam Darnold at $4,900. I think that Jermaine Kearse is coming off of a great week. Robbie Anderson, he's a guy. I don't know. I'm not going to say he's playing well, but he's certainly a deep threat that could stretch the field there. Terrell Pryor, I don't know. He's also a guy. Really no great reasons there, but I think that Sam Darnold has shown that he certainly has the aptitude to play at the professional level well. He's been able to read defenses effectively. And I think that the Jets offense can be kind of sneaky good. Like Isaiah Crowell, Bilal Powell out of the backfield have been sort of an unexpected tandem that has been excelling so far this year. Both of them have been playing really well. And I think that the Jets defense has been holding their own as well. That was sort of expected. Their defense was sort of the bright point in the grand scheme of things. Tremaine Johnson, Jamal Adams sort of holding down the fort back there. So anyway, I like Sam Darnold there at $4,900 just because of the value. I realized that the Minnesota name, I think that's why he's so low and why it looks so scary. But if you're looking to save a lot of money there at quarterback, definitely pick him. So anyway, you want to talk about... Let's move on to running backs.
Yeah.
People that we don't
like.
like.
Yeah, toting the rock this week. I don't know. Do we have any of the same people in our columns here? I don't think so. I mean, yeah, this is one where actually this is the position group that I had the most people down. I had 4 that I didn't like. There's a lot of these in-betweener guys I didn't neither love nor hate, very lukewarm about. But people I did not like. I do not like Jacksonville running back. So I had Leonard Fournette and TJ Yeldon. Specifically because it looks like Leonard Fournette is going to play, but I doubt he's going to play a lot. So, I mean, they're probably going to be splitting carries. So, really, in terms of market share or number of touches, both of those guys are probably going to be splitting them, I would think. They're also valued fairly similarly at $6,400 and $6,000, which kind of reflects that, I guess, in my opinion. So, until Leonard...
I don't expect very big things out of Fournette, especially because they signed Jamal.
Yeah,
Charles.
so, I mean, with that, all those guys they have in that backfield, I would stay away until at least Leonard Fournette shows for sure that he's back and is productive at a level that we kind of saw last year when he was very, very productive at the running back position. Also, I don't like Jordan Howard this week. And that's mainly because I think this is going to be a high-scoring game against a New England defense that just gave up 40 to Andy Reid's offense, which Andy Reid and Matt Nagy run a very, very similar offense since, Matt Nagy was offensive coordinator there last season. So I would expect maybe not 40 points from the Bears, but I expect them to be down. I think I like New England in this game. So game script would call for a lot of second half, a lot of playing from behind, so a lot of passes, which isn't Jordan Howard's MO necessarily. He's been better this year, more productive in the pass game, but still, I would like Tariq Cohen better if you're going to go with the Bears running back. I'm thinking they're going to be down since that New England offense is clicking. Also, the Bears defense didn't look great against Brock Osweiler, so I don't really have a whole lot of faith in that defense going into this game against Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, the whole 9 yards. So I'm expecting so if you see where I'm going with this, I'm expecting a shootout in that Bears-Patriots game.
Jordan Howard has just been he hasn't been doing much of anything. And that's
I'm not entirely surprised by that, just because I think he's a between the tackles, downhill between the tackles kind of guy, and they're running a kind of a hybrid spread pro style offense with Matt Nagy. So a lot of side to side stuff, which doesn't play to Jordan Howard's strength. That's more of a Tariq Cohen thing, or getting the ball into the hands of the playmakers on the perimeter. It's kind of more what they're doing. There's still value in having a Jordan Howard on the goal line or in short yardage situations, or when they're nursing a lead. So I just don't think this week they're going to be nursing a lead in the second half.
Right.
Yep. Anyways, and then the last running back we do not like this week, Matt Breida. Kind of a similar reason they're playing Rams. Niners playing the Rams. So you have to go up against the very stout defensive front the Rams have with Ndamukong Suh and Aaron Donald. Also, similar reason I just mentioned about the Bears game. This is on their game script where I'd expect them to be down a lot. early and often, so running game probably not going to be the most efficient way to try and claw their way back into a game where they're probably going to be losing by quite a bit. So,
Right.
yeah, so really anybody else, so with CJ Beathard on my quarterbacks I do not like list and Matt Breida, yeah, so basically anybody on the Niners I'm not feeling good about. I would have told you the same thing last week, but this time it's for real. I don't think they're going to do that 2 weeks in a row. I don't think they're going to have offensive outbursts like that with the personnel that they have available to them right now. So that's 4 running backs I am not crazy about this week. So who you like this week, Connor?
People I like this week. All right, so starting at the top, I like Todd Gurley against San Francisco. We've sort of beat a dead horse here with the LA San Francisco game script here. Expect them to go up real early, real quick, and to sort of run smash mouth football at them with Todd Gurley to run out the clock. So Todd Gurley has been extremely productive this season. That's why he's valued at $9,800. Definitely worth a gold mine, but you know you're going to get a ton of production out of him against San Francisco. So like him if you're willing to pay that much. Next, Saquon Barkley at $8,900 against Atlanta. It's sort of a similar concept, but I think that Saquon Barkley is just a much more integral part of that New York Giants offense. They've been unable to stretch the field with their receivers despite having Sterling Shepard and Odell Beckham. I think Evan Ingram's still hurt, maybe. I'm not totally sure. Haven't been paying attention to New York Giants football. But nonetheless, like plenty of targets that have speed and have proven that they're effective receivers down the field, but they have not been able to do any of that this season. So they've been relying a ton on Saquon Barkley to run through the holes and to catch these dump-off passes from Eli Manning. And I expect that to be more the case because I think that their offense is still going to be just as anemic. They're just going to be a little bit more effective here against Atlanta since Atlanta has a ton of holes on defense. So $8,900, I expect him to have another big game. And then to round out top dollar list, I've got Joe Mixon at $7,600 against Kansas City. And I already sort of talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think that Cincinnati is going to exploit a lot of the vulnerabilities in Kansas City's run defense and their inability to defend against maneuverable running backs out of the backfield. Joe Mixon is also in an advantageous situation since he's one of the few running backs in the NFL right now that have almost a true, 3-down back situation. Gio Bernard is out, and seemingly nobody is really slotted behind Joe Mixon to take any of his carries. So he's got an exceptional, workload and volume that are waiting for him, and I think that alone really spells out the formula here for a ton of points against Kansas City. So moving on to middle tier guys here. It's sort of disappointing that David Johnson is here in the middle tier, but at $6,700 against Denver, I like that matchup. He just, I don't know. There's not really a lot to say about it because David Johnson has been kind of disappointing in terms of production, and it's not really his fault. It's been a lot of Mike McCoy just not really knowing how to utilize David Johnson effectively. But I think at some point, along the line here of this 2018 season, David Johnson has to have some big game waiting for him. Like, he's too good to not have a quality game at least once through the course of the season, and I think he has plenty of opportunity here with Denver. They have a lot of big names on defense, and they've been known for their being able to defend against the run, but they haven't been able to do it very effectively these past couple of weeks. And I think that David Johnson, if used correctly, could have a solid outing against Denver. Following that up, I got LaShawn McCoy at $5,600 against Indianapolis. And this is, both because Indianapolis hasn't been great against defending against the run and because they are pretty effective at defending against the pass attack. So when combined with the fact that Derek Anderson is going to be tossing the rock there in Buffalo, I'm not really confident in their ability to get it to their receivers. Not that there's many great options there. I heard on Sunday that Josh Allen asked Kelvin Benjamin to practice routes with him, and Kelvin Benjamin literally just said no and walked over to the bench. So I I don't really expect very many things to happen out of that pass offense, and I think that even though Shady hasn't been able to net any sort of quality games there, I think that if you're just looking for a guy to, he hasn't been just absolutely unplayable, but I think that at $5,600 he could break off a big one or two against Indianapolis possibly, and I think that's definitely worth playing with. And then to round out the middle tier, I got Tevin Coleman at $5,100 against New York, the Giants, and he's probably my favorite guy here out of the middle tier, both because of his value and because of the matchup here. Tevin Coleman is sort of going to be splitting carries with Ito Smith, and it sort of looks like Tevin Coleman is kind of assuming the roles that Devonta Freeman was previously holding, and Ito Smith is sort of doing the goal line work that Tevin Coleman was sort of in charge of before, so they sort of just move the assembly line down one person while Devonta Freeman's out. And I think that at $5,100, it's great, because I think that Atlanta is going to, go up pretty early in this game. I think that they're going to have a pretty decisive lead, and Tevin Coleman is going to be the guy getting all the touches, getting a lot of the short yardage work there at the running back position. So I think he's a great play for $5,100. He's definitely going to get a ton of carries with a lot of volume in that game. So then to round out the list here, bottom feeder guys that I got. I've got Kenyon Drake on here, but I don't know. Kenyon Drake, Frank Gore. Kenyon Drake is $4,900. Frank Gore is a few $100s less. They're playing against Detroit. This is more for Detroit's poor run defense than it is for either of those guys. I don't trust Kenyon Drake, and I certainly don't trust Frank Gore to be an extremely reliable option. But Detroit's run defense has just been atrocious this year, so I think if you're looking, if the boot fits, I think you could probably play one of those guys in a pinch. But it's more about exploiting the scheme there than anything. I've got Corey Clement at $4,700 against Carolina. Corey sort of found himself in a pretty excellent situation with Jay Ajayi heading to IR. Corey Clement has proven, even despite what reports said last week about Wendell Smallwood being the guy in Philadelphia, I think Corey Clement is clearly the primarily used running back there, both as the pass-catching running back and as the guy that will just get the ball a little bit more frequently. So $4,700 against Carolina, it's a pretty solid matchup. He'll probably get you at least double-digit points. I got Carlos Hyde here at the same price point, $4,700 against Tampa Bay. And I think this guy is my favorite out of this bottom cast of people. I think at $4,700, I had to do a double take here to make sure that this price was correct, because $4,700, I think that Carlos Hyde is certainly affordable and a great play against a Tampa Bay defense that hasn't been able to do much of anything against anyone in any sort of part. So I think that Carlos Hyde is not getting out-touched by Nick Chubb quite yet. I think that may happen at some point in the season, but I don't think it's this week. I think that he still has a pretty decisive hold under that starting position job, and I think that against Tampa Bay, he certainly has a lot of opportunity to break off a lot of big runs and probably score a couple of touchdowns there. Next, I've got Philip Lindsay, $4,600 against Arizona. And I guess to pair with him, I've got Royce Freeman at $3,800 against Arizona as well. Arizona's run defense is just bad. I sort of talked about them with Latavius Murray last week. He broke off a huge game in daily fantasy. So I expect Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman to also have big games. I'm a bigger proponent of Phillip Lindsay just because he's, proven that he is the guy that's going to catch passes. He's, I think, a little bit quicker on the feet there than Royce Freeman maybe is, a little bit more reliable. So I like him at $4,600, but I think that Royce Freeman at $3,800 isn't unreasonable either, though. I think that especially if you're looking to save some money, he could definitely net you a solid game there.
The one Broncos game I've watched this year, Phillip Lindsay was pretty impressive. That was that Chiefs game. I mean, they were playing the Chiefs, but I don't know if Arizona's much better, but
probably worse.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, don't mean to break up the DFS talk here, but while we're kind of in the middle now, we're through running backs. My guy, Lee Fulmer, remember him?
Yeah.
So, I was just laughing to myself here while you were going through running backs, but he commented on something about the NBA since it's like, I don't know, I guess the first game of the year, who cares? But something like, always starts it as his usual open when he comments on something. Former football and baseball star here. I will not be watching the NBA this season until they find a way to create parity for more than two teams. It is disgusting and repugnant what the Warriors have done. You will likely see others. You will likely see people protesting outside of arenas they play in this season. When I played, despite my excellence, I refused to let me team stack the deck against others. So that's pretty. You're gonna see people outside NBA arenas protesting because of imbalance in the NBA. Right. Okay, but here's where it gets good. Somebody replied to this, as people often do to this fellow here, who's very open about how great he was. That clucking chicken SpongeBob meme. The one where he's kind of hunched over and he looks like a chicken, and then every other letter's capitalized.
Yeah.
Someone posted that. Former football and baseball star here, which had me dying. And then good old Lee responded to this guy, and he's like, "Oh, excuse me, but who are you to tease me like that? This is a stupid and ignorant comment. I will forgive you if you apologize." Oh
man. This Lee Fulmer account is too good.
I think he's a real guy.
I don't think he can't be a real guy.
Is.
It's too off the wall, man.
I see. You're right, but I've been Facebook friends with him for like a year and a half now, and he has no quit in him. He's got no quit. I've done a Google search for him. I've done a little detective work into him, and I haven't found anything, which doesn't really prove anything. But I told you about the copy pasta thing I did with that, right? And I just got kind of roasted for it.
It just didn't. Yeah.
I guess this guy isn't as popular as he is to me. Other people, not enough people are familiar with the format that I was copying. With the pasta I was working with, and I just got roasted for it for being a band nerd, which is fair. It's harsh but fair. It's not incorrect.
Just attacked you on a personal level.
Yeah, I was like, I wasn't expecting that. But then again, I'm on an ESPN comment on Facebook. What did I think was going to happen? So that was my own damn fault. So anyways, this is your weekly. We're going to start doing weekly Lee Fulmer updates. So there you go. My favorite character on the internet.
Lee Fulmer.
So I have a very brief wide receiver grouping of wide receivers I don't like. That would be Robbie Anderson. I think you already went in on the Jets a little bit. Playing Minnesota, I know you said their defense isn't very good, but I think Robbie Anderson is a boom or bust guy. And last week he was a bust, and 2 weeks ago he was a boom. So I mean, if he beats somebody deep and catches a long ball from Sam Darnold, yeah, I mean he's a viable play, but he's only $4,500. So if you want to spend big, he's a guy that it's a big roll of the dice whether he's going to be a valuable DFS position, take up a valuable roster spot on your team. So I'm thinking nah on Robbie Anderson, hard pass. I got burned once, so I won't get burned again until he is good, and then I'll be a week late on that. And we talked a lot about Brock Lobster. And so I'm putting on the people I do not like all the Miami wide receivers. I'm not. I don't. Who are the Dolphins playing? I don't even write it down. Who are they playing? Are they playing? Are they playing this week?
They are playing this week. Gosh, who? I don't know if I have
Dolphins
on my list.
Schedule. They're playing. Oh, they're playing the Lions.
There we go.
Yeah. So. Oh yeah, Detroit's actually got like a decent secondary too. Darius Slay.
Yeah.
They got Darius Slay. He's good. But yeah, I would not expect Brock Lobster to be a competent quarterback 2 weeks in a row. So.
Yeah, I
don't. Yeah, Albert Wilson's.
You're talking about roll the dice with Robbie Anderson, but Brock Lobster is. I think that's like a 10-sided die there, rolling the dice with him.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I don't think anybody thought he was capable of throwing for 3 touchdowns.
And I don't think he will.
However
He's
many
not going to do
yards.
that again. I can almost guarantee it. He's not going. Yeah, Albert Wilson's not going to lead the league in receiving and have all his yards after the catch and break 1,000,000 tackles. I don't think that's going to happen. So don't let the sticker shock from last week coax you into playing Miami receivers.
I almost want him to, so that he and Albert Wilson can get huge contracts after this year.
Yeah. Heard somebody talking about, like, man, you know who would be a perfect place for Brock Osweiler to go after this year? He said he's going to have a couple good games before Ryan Tannehill comes back, whatever happened to him, and he's going to be a free agent in the offseason, and then he's going to go to Oakland and just be an old guy for for John Gruden to, I don't know, be a very average at best quarterback for John Gruden.
What a yucky offense.
Yep. That's why I played the Seahawks.
Well,
That's why I played the Seahawks defense in regular fantasy last week. Good.
They do well?
Yeah, they held them to 3 points. Held the Raiders to 3. They held the Raiders in 3 points, and yeah, they got me like 7.
How many points?
17.
Oh my god. Incredible.
Great waiver wire pickup by me.
All right, on the other side of the coin here, wide receivers that I like. Top of the line people, Adam Thielen, $8,600 against the New York Jets. He's the most expensive receiver on the slate here. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot to explain here. Even though the Jets have a powerful secondary, Adam Thielen has proven that he is capable of being productive despite the situation he's put in. He's had like 1 billion 100-yard games in a row this season. And I think that he's going to continue that trend against New York. I don't know. There's a reason he's priced so high. He's extremely productive, and seemingly is not affected by what's going on the other side of the ball there. So moving on, I've got OBJ at $8,100 against Atlanta. I mean, there's not a whole lot to say here, besides the scheme talk that we've been, talking about all evening here. I think that it's sort of difficult because of what we were saying about Eli Manning. I don't think that his ceiling is quite as high as it used to be. But nonetheless, I think that he's still capable of putting up a lot of points. So I have him up here in the top dollar tier. Following him, I've got Jarvis Landry at $7,300 against Tampa Bay. And his role here on the Browns, it's cool to see that it's expanded beyond the slot receiver role that he was sort of just christened into with Miami. it's cool to see him doing more deep routes and to be doing a little bit more expanded material. I think the drops thing is just going to sort of go away because it's Jarvis Landry. I mean, he's certainly, professional. I think he's going to come back from that.
Hey, can you hear me?
And he's been,
Hello?
seeing a ton of volume here. I think that with Baker Mayfield, there's been some hiccups with the transition from Tyrod Taylor to him and how that's impacted Jarvis Landry. But I think he's going to have a lot of opportunities against this Tampa Bay secondary. So I have him at 7,300. And then to round out the list here of top-tier people, I've got Robert Woods at 7,000 against San Francisco. So like I mentioned before, I think Brandon Cooks is going to be the guy that's shadowed by Richard Sherman, which leaves Robert Woods to feast and beast on that San Francisco secondary. I don't think anybody else on there is really worth talking about. We sort of watched last week Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Equanimeous St. Brown. They didn't run train on them or anything, but it was pretty visible that they were the superior player there most of the time there, especially towards the end of the game. So, given that, those guys who are rookies and really haven't showcased much anything, I think Robert Woods is going to perform that much better against that secondary. So then moving on to middle tier guys here, we've got Julian Edelman against Chicago at $6,600. Chicago has proven, even before this Miami game, that their weakness here in the secondary is against the slot receiver. They gave up a ton of yards to Randall Cobb when the Packers played him. We saw Albert Wilson just have an incredible game last week against them. And I think Julian Edelman is certainly capable of doing the same thing in a much more concise and put together offense, in my opinion. So I like him at $6,600 against Chicago. On the other side of the ball there, I've got Allen Robinson at $6,100 against New England. New England's secondary, we already talked about it here, is certainly a weak point, giving up 40 points to the Chiefs the previous week. I think that, as Sam mentioned, Matt Nagy's offense has a lot of similarities to Andy Reid's offense, and I expect Allen Robinson to be one of the recipients of that outcome. I think that he's gonna be able to net plenty of yards there against New England. So I've got him. Following that, I've got John Brown at $5,700 against New Orleans. John Brown has sort of been having a little bit of a breakout year in Baltimore. He's proven that he's a true deep threat, and I think he's the only deep threat in that wide receiver core primarily. So I think he's going up against Ken Crawley, and he's not having an excellent season. And I mentioned it before. I think that John Brown and Willie Snead are going to get more targets than Michael Crabtree per se. So I think that he's definitely capable of having a solid game against New Orleans. Following that up, I've got Sterling Shepard at $5,400 against Atlanta. Same deal with OBJ, really. He's certainly capable of having a quality game. It's just a matter, really, of Eli Manning and if that offensive line is going to hold up. So I think it's more of he's a pretty cheap play here at $5,400, and I think he can have an excellent game against Atlanta. Following that up, I got Sammy Watkins at $5,100 against Cincinnati. I think he's more of a pivot play than anything. Sammy Watkins has sort of showcased that he's a little bit inconsistent this year. Despite the high-powered offense that he's in, I think that it sort of depends on the day here. If Pat Mahomes is firing off big ones to Tyreek Hill as frequently as he was last week, So I don't know. It's a little bit more of an unsure pick there, but I sort of similar to Sterling Shepard. I have him down there because $5,100 is pretty cheap for a guy like Sammy Watkins. So bottom tier here, I guess, to round out. I've got Taylor Gabriel at $4,700 against New England. Very similar reasons to Allen Robinson. He is definitely capable of tearing up the field there, as we saw against Miami. I think that at $4,700, it's just a pretty solid value to get against New England, and what's bound to be a shootout against the Bears, or the Bears against New England. Following that, I've got Antonio Callaway at $4,300 against Tampa Bay. Playing Tampa Bay, it's pretty much that. I got Kiki Kuti at $4,300 against Jacksonville. And I think that's more or less because this I had to do a little bit more research for, I guess. Jacksonville's slot receiver last week was the big hole in their defense, I guess. Like, that was the main reason why they were really struggling to stop the pass game. So Kiki has been trending upward. He's sort of overtaken Will Fuller there. Not on the depth chart, but certainly in production. So I've got him on the list. After that, I've got Jermaine Kearse at $4,100 against Minnesota. And we've sort of hit the nail on the head here a few times with how this game script is supposed to play out. Jets, Minnesota. And I think that Terrell Pryor is going to draw coverage from Xavier Rhodes, leaving Jermaine Kearse and Robbie Anderson sort of free there. So I've got him at $4,100. Willie Snead at $4,000 against New Orleans. We've also already talked about this. I just think for $4,000, you get a pretty solid play for a guy that's just barely getting outpaced by John Brown, who is $1,700 more expensive than him. So that's who I've got at receiver. Do you have anything to add, Sam?
Sorry, I was just up and went to the bathroom. Yeah, no, I heard every word of it though, and it sounds great. I really
Okay.
Yeah, so
all right, well, just to rattle off my tight ends real quick here, I'm not going to explain anything here. I've got Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Trey Burton, David Njoku, CJ Uzomah, Ricky Seals-Jones, and Tyler Higbee there. They all primarily just have solid lineups. Those last three guys, a combination of solid lineups and just dirt cheap price point there. So, and defense, I don't know who to play on defense, man. Got a big question mark there. I have the Chargers slotted right now, but who knows?
Yeah. So tight ends, I don't like Eric Ebron because he never plays well when I play him. $5,400. That seems a bit pricey for a guy who's very much hot and cold. Not necessarily guaranteed to get you a lot of production for that much money at the tight end position.
Balling out, man.
I don't care. I'm not playing him. I don't like him. Buffalo's got a good secondary or whatever. I don't know.
Okay.
Defenses that I do not like. I do not like the Giants' defense against Atlanta. I don't really need to expound on all these that much. I don't like Cincinnati's defense versus Kansas City. I do not like the Chicago Bears' defense against Tom Brady and the Patriots. Those are all relatively cheap defenses anyway. So, defense is a big deal. So just pick a good one.
Yeah, I was trying to pick a person that isn't gonna get just the train run on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to find value in other places than defense.
Yeah, well, sweet. That's our DFS analysis for the week. What do you want to talk about now? You want to talk about something else?
You want to talk about? Let's just do college football because
Okay.
I think we pretty much covered NFL pretty well here. Game of the week this week.
Michigan State. We're staying in the Big Ten. We're staying with Michigan. Well, we're gonna give Michigan another shot at actually giving a good game because they didn't really let the Badgers have a good game, and that was a rough one last week, man.
Yeah, I agree. It was difficult to watch. I mean, there was a lot of hype going into it, and Sam punched the ticket on the Badgers at +10.
Yeah, I thought that line was way off.
Didn't return that,
and
yeah.
it was too low. Should have been +20.
Yeah, it was disappointing to say the least. So anyway, Michigan State this week. Big old rivalry here. How are we deciding this game?
Well, have you ever been to Lansing, Michigan?
No.
Or East Lansing, wherever the hell they are. I was there once because my cousin went to law school there for a little bit and then dropped out of law school. But he met his wife who actually went to law school and finished law school. So anyways, they got married there. So I was there when I was like in 6th grade, like 12 years ago. So I've been to Ann Arbor once. So Michigan's gonna win.
Solid.
I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any fun food win? And and to be fair, okay, you got Sparty versus a Wolverine. I'm taking the Wolverine in a fist fight or a fight to the death. Well, Sparty has a shield and a sword though, so I don't know.
I think I'll use some real life things that I'm sort of dealing with here, and we're gonna go by law school ranking.
Oh, okay.
So Michigan's law school is like number 7.
Okay.
They have a real quality law program there, very top tier, in Ann Arbor. So conversely, Michigan State's law school. I want to get this number right because it's very important. Their law school ranking. Boop, boop, boop. U.S. News it's 88th.
Oh, so okay. So you're saying when I see my cousins who went to law school there, only one of them finished, I should give them shit for going to a shitty law school?
Yeah, no, you definitely shouldn't do that. It's the 88 isn't like a. It's not like a bad law school. I mean,
No, I mean,
it's trying to go there.
It's law school. I mean,
right.
Still.
But Michigan is like they're the top 12, really T14, are like the cream of the crop. Like getting into one of those schools will get you a job like anywhere in like a big law firm.
And Michigan's one of those.
Michigan is definitely one of those.
Okay.
So
could you rattle off who they're in the same league as?
In terms of law school?
Yes.
Yeah, so in the I'll just, the T14 here are sort of
what does that mean?
Grouped together.
What does that mean, T14?
Top 14.
Oh, okay.
Top 14.
Oh.
That's all that means.
Could just say that.
And you can sort of you could, but it's just abbreviated that way all the time. So
gotcha.
That's why,
Law speak.
I don't know. I spend too much time on Reddit probably. So anyway, similar schools in that top 14 are Yale, Stanford, Harvard, University of Chicago.
They don't have a football team, so that doesn't really count.
The University of Chicago.
Correct.
Is that what you're thinking about?
Well, yeah. Why even go to college if you don't have college football?
Right, you go to play ball, not to play school.
Yeah.
Columbia University,
probably doesn't have,
New York University.
I don't think they have football either.
University of Pennsylvania. Those are the schools that are before Michigan.
Okay, so Michigan's like number 4 because none of those non-football schools count.
Right, exactly.
So that's even better for them.
And that's followed by Cal Berkeley, University of Virginia, Duke, Northwestern, Cornell, and then Georgetown is number 14.
Yeah, I don't know. What else? That's a pretty good list there of places to learn at.
Yeah, they're all top tier institutions for just about fucking everything that they do. So that's what that is. But
Hammer the Wolverines.
Michigan definitely representing top tier law school though. So anyway, yep, I'm hammering the Wolverines based on their law program. Picking them any day of the week. We were talking about this before too, but we were reading up on this article of Michigan fans are saying nice things to Michigan State to dispel the disrespect voodoo. A lot of quality comments coming out of that. I like these. I like this is the top one that was Michigan State is noteworthy for its academic excellence in zoology, veterinary science, packaging, supply chain management, and hospitality management. Packaging. Yeah. So I don't know. I got a kick out of that. I really enjoyed that. Anyway, hammer Michigan, and on Wisconsin.
You betcha.
I think that'll kind of do it for this week. I think.
Yep.
I mean, we talked.
I ran out of money in my
well.
MyBookie account. There was no point to going through all my wrong picks for against the spread.
No.
Because they're all wrong anyway.
They're all wrong. They all lost a lot of money. Sam's kind of sad about it.
Yep. Taking a knee for the rest of the year. Sitting up.
So all right. Taking a knee for the rest of the year.
I have to sit on my my office pool money that I've been raking in.
Yeah, Sam's been extremely successful in his office pool number game, his Sudoku puzzle that he's managed
office
to come out on
10-liner.
top with.
Completely
That's
random.
right.
I have no skill involved, which is why I'm doing no worse. That's why I'm doing a lot better, because I didn't actually do anything. So I'm good at scratch-off. I'm really good at scratch-offs.
Do you try one at Lambeau this past?
I looked at the machine and said, I'm good.
Had enough of the betting bug.
We'll let it sit for another. We'll let it sit until the next home game.
It's probably a solid
Might pay
decision.
the old see the old dispensary there.
Yeah. Well, all right. Okay, I think that'll wrap it up for week 7 here. Tune in next week to Not the Experts. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. We aren't on YouTube yet, but on there too.
Like, rate, subscribe, share, tell your friends.
Smash that like button. We'll see you next week.
Bye.